Hello. I'm here about to begin my second video of myself concerning the Jehovah's Witness organization. Now, I recorded myself a couple months ago giving some twisted mistakes that the Jehovah's Witness had made over the years. But of course, I didn't lose my temper, I didn't swear, I just gave them the facts. Now, this video that I'm about to begin, it's going to be much more vulgar, but also to the point, because things in their organization continuously to change. And from the first video to the second video, definitely it changed in their organization. So now, let me tell you this. I've told my mom this many times from the last year or so, telling her that when I talk about their Jehovah's Witness organization, I don't go sit there telling them to go fuck themselves and they all need to die to a slow death, motherfuckers. And she told me this, and she knew that I wasn't being that despiteful. I was just telling her facts about their organization. So I'm pretty much going to do the exact same thing. I'm not going to be despiteful, just putting facts, because I know it really bothers the Jehovah's Witnesses when you're telling them about the facts about their organization. So now, let me tell you this, one big point about their organization, and that is the concepts of members of the Jehovah's Witness who were baptized when being disfellowshipped. Because I will tell you this, they changed, and they changed, and they changed again over the years. So let me give you an example. Now I'm going to read a couple little paragraphs from Diane Wilson's book. Now, it says, question number 2. May Jehovah's Witnesses speak to disfellowship witnesses? Now, it says from there, Watchtower magazine of March the 1st, 1919, which is over 90 years ago. And it reads on page 697. It reads that the brothers may merely be treated in the kindly, courteous way in which it would be proper for us to treat any publican or Gentile. Now, what that means is no matter who you are, if you're disfellowshipped or what. But of course, the organization changed. It changed in 1952, which is a couple years before my mom was born. And it reads in there, December the 1st, 1952, Watchtower, page 735. And it reads, generally speaking, it would be desirable for us to have no contact with disfellowship persons, either in business or in social and or spiritual ways. And it goes on in another Watchtower in the July the 15th, 1963, page 444, and it reads, we should not see how close we can get to relatives who are disfellowshipped from Jehovah's Witness organization, but we should quit mixing in company with them. And again, another Watchtower magazine in the June the 1st, 1970 Watchtower magazine, page 351, and it reads, thus we have established from the Bible itself the basic position of a faithful Christian towards a disfellowshipped one. Have no fellowship at all with him, not even speaking with him. Now, you would think in the Jehovah's Witnesses that would be how they deal with disfellowship members. But unfortunately, the organization changed. And that was in 1974. Which was the year my cousin Melanie was born. And it changed from that you cannot speak to disfellowship members to that you can, again, the second time, speak to disfellowship members. And it reads in one of their magazines of the Watchtower, and that was in a August the 1st, 1974 Watchtower, page 471, and it reads, "As to disfellowship family members living outside the home, each family must decide to what extent they will have association with such ones. This is not something that the congregational elders can decide for them. Thus, if a disfellowship parent goes to visit a son or daughter or to see grandchildren or is allowed to enter the Christian home, this is not the concern of the elders. Such one has a natural right to visit his blood relatives and his offsprings." Now, can you please say how twisted that is in their organization? Now, before, in 1954, they gave all their guidelines telling them why you can't associate with disfellowship members, but then all of a sudden, in 1974, they changed and says that the elders have no authority telling you who and who you can't associate. But unfortunately, it changed again, the fourth time, in 1981. Was then 4 years after I was born. And it reads in one of their Watchtower magazines, in the September the 15th, 1981, page 29, and I'm reading, "Consequently, Christians related to such a disfellowship person living outside the home should strive to avoid needless association, even keeping business dealings to a minimum." And it goes on in another magazine, actually it's the same magazine, but also page 22. "Yes, the Bible commands Christians not to keep company or fellowship with a person who has been expelled from the congregation." And of course, this one's a little longer, but is also one of the Watchtower magazines, in the September the 15th, 1981, page 25 and 26. And it reads, "I knew a sister who had been shunned for her disfellowship daughter for many years in obedience to the society. As she told me about the reversal of this doctrine in 1974, she excitedly wrote a letter to her daughter, tears of joy streaming down her face as she did so. She and many others experienced much emotional trauma when this doctrine was again reversed 7 years later in 1981, as reunited families once again divided themselves off by shunning the disfellowship family members and relatives who had become part of their lives. Witnesses, also known as Jehovah's Witnesses, who continued to associate with any disfellowship witnesses were themselves expelled from the organization." Now, does that sound heartless? Because I absolutely believe that. So now, those were all very old magazines. So now I'm going to get to more modern times in year 2011, because it is now almost November, which is almost reaching year 2012. And I'm going to read you a very recent Watchtower magazine. Now, I know this Watchtower that I'm about to read is very current, as people talk about this point often. Now, this Watchtower is from the July the 15th, year 2011. And it reads, "Suppose that a doctor told you to avoid contact with someone who is infected with a contagious, deadly disease. You would know what the doctor means, and you would strictly heed his warning. Well, apostates are mentally diseased and they seek to infect others with their disloyal teachings. Now, did you hear what that watchtower just said? Now, can you please know what the word slander? Because that's exactly what they are doing. They are backstabbing, talking shit about all us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, which they of course call us apostates. So now, the funny part of it and their organization, my mom's been telling me this for many years, including this year before she disowned me again, that us Jehovah's Witnesses, that even if we don't agree the lifestyles that you might be going by now as a apostate or worldly or an ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, that we won't waste not 1 second of our time to talk bad about their lifestyles. Now, what the fuck did they just talk about in their watchtower? Calling us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, also known as the apostates, calling them mentally diseased? I'm sorry, but that's pretty heartless. And then the funny part is, they won't even admit to their faces of them being liars and hypocrites, because that's exactly what they are. You know what? I'll tell you this, since I only have 4 more minutes of this video. As I was telling you earlier in this video, that my mom was really mad at me because I was talking so many things about the Jehovah's Witnesses and telling her so many mistakes that the Jehovah's Witnesses had made over the years. And she would continuously to tell me that, Victor, we respect you as being an ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or not a current Jehovah's Witnesses, then I would think that you would respect us Jehovah's Witnesses and stop talking bad about the truth. So of course I rolled my eyes 800 million times, telling her whatever, until these magazines and all this shit comes out. Now I'll tell you this, in June of this year, of year 2011, I went to one of the district assemblies in Tucson, Arizona, and one of the talks they had was Brother Blaha. That's his name, Brother Blaha, and he had a 4-part symposium, and in part 3 he talked about apostates, basically talking so much shit, bashing about us ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or us apostates. And of course, this July the 15th watchtower calling people mentally diseased, infecting those disloyal members. So I'm sorry, that is both slander to the worst extent. Now, I brought that up to my mom. I Facebooked her, telling her that, are you kidding? You're trying to tell us that you don't waste not 1 second of your time to talk bad about us apostates or us former Jehovah's Witnesses, and that you want us to respect you? What the fuck are you talking about? You're a goddamn liar. Because both of these points alone is bashing and talking shit. So that proves right there that these fucking Jehovah's Witnesses don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they are liars and hypocrites. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.